they were like, oh, I was just calling to let you know that we're going to like offer you the position. I don't even remember. It was like $49 an hour, like remote, full time. It felt like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
This is my friend Casey. And in September of last year, Casey was offered a great paying job for a well-known company in North America. The only problem was that the person who'd reached out to Casey didn't actually work for the company in question, and the entire job offer was a scam. This is Cognitive Dissonance, a show about the misconceptions we have about ourselves and others and the many ways we get it wrong. Today, we're looking at confidence games. Simple deceptions that manage to scam billions of dollars every year from unsuspecting victims. What makes someone a successful con artist? And if these deceptions are so simple, why do we fall for them?
There wasn't any part of me that was like, oh, this is not going to be a real job. I was like, okay, this is a pretty standard process to start something that could be really cool.
To start things off, anyone can fall for a con. And that's because cons play on our basic human intuition that assumes others are telling us the truth. So much so that the term confidence game is believed to have originated around the trial of William Thompson in 1849. Thompson's grift was to strike up a conversation with a stranger on the street, as if the two were old friends. Once he established a rapport with the individual, he would ask the stranger if he had the confidence in them to loan their pocket watch for the day. He would simply hold on to it for the night and bring it back to them tomorrow. It's a pretty crude trick that seems almost too simple to even call a scam, but time and time again, strangers handed Thompson their watch only for the following day to arrive and Thompson would be nowhere in sight. You might think, anyone who fell for such a simple scheme must be a sucker. In fact, even today, many victims of fraud feel so ashamed that someone was able to take advantage of them that the scam goes unreported. But it's not our intelligence that determines how likely we are to fall for a scheme. What con artists and scammers play on first and foremost is our emotions.
The thing looking back on it is that because it felt like a once in a lifetime opportunity, if it was real, I didn't want to it up. And so there was a part of me that didn't want to like call out the weirdness of it. Like, what if they just like fire me on the spot? Which is like so unrealistic, but I think they thrive off of that pressure of like the person being like, oh, I don't want to ruin this opportunity.
In his paper, Feeling and Thinking, social psychologist Robert Zions made what was at the time a controversial assertion, that our first responses to new people and situations are instinctively emotional rather than analytical. What a successful con artist does is activate our emotional decision-making and get us to act before we even have time to step back and critically evaluate our actions. Feeling the emotional high of meeting an old friend on the street was enough of an experience to persuade multiple strangers to hand over their watches to William Thompson. And while today the face-to-face scams of Thompson's age have moved online, the most promising targets remain those in emotionally vulnerable states. Those who've lost jobs or loved ones, or had their lives uprooted and thrown into uncertainty. And when you lay it all out like that, the past year and a half must have been a golden age for scams.
And when people get very anxious and there's a lot of uncertainty about how to keep themselves safe, some people get desperate. And this has happened in past pandemics and happened in this one around where people were drinking bleach or drinking hand sanitizer or signing up for quack cures, so-called immune boosting products. So yeah, when you add stress in, chronic stress for a person, so they're not sleeping properly and so their decision making is impaired, and then you add that intense fear of getting sick, people start to become desperate and look for ways of trying to keep themselves safe. And unfortunately at those points they become vulnerable to hucksters.
This is Dr. Stephen Taylor. In 2019, he wrote the book, The Psychology of Pandemics, which was rather unsettling in how predictive this book ended up being.
People will look around themselves, look around their community during the pandemic and see a lot of anxious and desperate people, and they will ask themselves, how can I profit from this situation? And this has happened in various ways, the marketing of bogus cures, but also in panic buying. Now, the people with the dark personalities traits, they're going to say, oh, hey, there's a huge demand, increased demand for toilet paper, hand sanitizer, all those things. I'll go in and buy them up and make a profit.
And what are those personality traits?
So there are traits like being entitled, thinking that you deserve better things than other people, psychological entitlement, or Machiavellianism, thinking that it's okay to manipulate people to your own ends, what was called subclinical psychopathy, thinking that it's okay to manipulate people, not feeling a great sense of empathy.
The three traits Dr. Taylor listed out, psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism, are known in psychology as the Dark Triad of personality traits and are commonly associated with antisocial behavior and criminal activity. In her book, The Confidence Game, Maria Konnikova lists the Dark Triad as the ideal traits of a successful con artist. To be fair, possession of one or even all three of these traits doesn't make you destined for a life of scams and fraud. In fact, professionally speaking, these traits can also be found predominantly in the fields of law, finance, Wall Street firms, and politics, which may be concerning for other reasons. Still, these dark personality traits persist in the world of fraud, impersonating an employer, a family member, or frequently a government tax agent. So what can you do to protect yourself against an online con? For starters, take a step back before giving out any of your information or sending any money. Most scammers are trying to manipulate you into a decision by giving you an emotional hit of hope or fear. This could be a special opportunity that you need to jump on right now, or a fake tax auditor telling you that you owe money and need to pay it back immediately. The goal with both of these scams is to push you to make a quick decision before you have time to think it through. And so the best defense is simply to wait and give yourself time to evaluate the offer. And if you realize you may have already been the victim of a scam, don't think of it as a personal failure. Many scams go unreported because victims blame themselves and feel too embarrassed to go to the authorities.
It reminds me of like a quote from a TV show I really like, where they said when you're looking at something through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. And then once that like the glasses come off or like the thing comes down, it's like, oh, this all is absolutely a scam.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this topic, you might want to check out the book Confidence Game, Why We Fall For It Every Time by Maria Konnikova. It was a big jumping off point for this one. Also, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to get more videos from CBC. Cheers.